Getting a mining job is about solving the employer's problem. Conversations about mining. Hi, Jess. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, Andrew. How are you going?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. So with this question we got sent through, or this question that we're putting out there, getting a mining job is all about solving the employer's problem. What problem does the employer have at the moment with new starters?
They're not educated. Is probably the number one. The number one.
And that
Um,
causes a lot of turnover.
it does. So you're maybe going through two or three or four or five or six new starters, and that onboarding process is really expensive. So between you applying for the role and you actually getting to site is somewhere between the kind of $5,000 and $10,000 mark, depending on what type of inductions you need to do and the type that, like, your medical process and your flights, your uniforms, everything that they have to do, the number of hours spent on like mobilizing you to site. It can be a really costly
I,
expense.
I normally tell people that if you're sitting in the truck with a trainer behind you telling you what to do and you're driving up the decline, they've probably spent about 30 grand on you.
Yeah, easily, because then, yeah, you have to factor in the time that you're training in the role as well. So they're paying someone else full-time wages for X amount of weeks to train you, plus paying you as well,
Yep.
and all the costs and the overhead. So it's a really expensive process. So you need to be the candidate that is not going to fail. And 50% of people fail.
More than
Um,
50%.
yeah,
Yeah.
you need to be the one that they go into an interview with you and they go, oh, they get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how everybody that we help get a job gets their job, because they end up solving a problem for the employer. Whether they head to Kalgoorlie with the training under their belt, and because there's a lot of jobs in Kalgoorlie, so we like to tell people to go where the mines are and give them what they want. Somebody that knows how it all works, and you're solving a problem. It's like a guy got a job, or called you the other day that he was up in Karratha somewhere, and yeah, he was talking about the what was it, the visual
Oh yeah,
the falling
the
asleep.
fatigue cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was an Irish guy, was he? Yeah, yeah, and yeah, obviously that he had solved the employer's problem by being where he needed to be hired quite easily.
He literally
That's
car and drove to Karratha and just went around and basically door knocked and hassled people out until someone gave him a job. And he's been doing it for several weeks. He did actually have water cart and water cart experience back in Ireland.
Yep.
But yeah, he got pulled into the office for the fatigue cameras, pulled him up a couple of times. So he'd got pulled in for that. And he was just asking how they worked and what happened there.
They work on your eyes. If anybody's interested, if you're not looking straight ahead where you're supposed to go, if you're dipping down or going to the side, or your eyes are closing, then it'll pull you up.
Yeah. And yeah, he solved their problem. He's probably on paper as a recruiter, he's not an ideal candidate. He's on a working holiday visa. He's only here until the end of June. But he just got to where the work was and got in there and talked the talk, and boom, he got a job. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's what I try to impress upon people, that if you can solve the employer's problem by walking through the door and being able to talk to them about how it all works and use the right terms, and just being able to be thrown in the deep end so they can get you up and running in a couple of weeks opposed to a couple of months, it just makes a huge difference in getting the job.
yeah, it does. It really does. Having that education is crucial, especially for people that are green to the industry and they have no experience at all. You really need to have an idea about how it all works and what a day in the life of is going to look like for you once you're on site, especially going into underground. We have so many people every week that fly away to underground all excited. They got an off-sider role or a nipper role and they're pumped about all the money they're going to make, and they fly back out in 2 days because they couldn't handle.
Yeah, yeah. It like, unless you're in the industry, it's really hard to explain to people how many people they actually turn over, and how the failure for the new starters is just an acceptable fact of it's what we do. We just have to break a few eggs to make the omelette type of scenario. So,
Yeah.
instead of being one of the broken eggs, educate yourself so you can go in and, yeah, solve the problem for the employer. Because when you get a foreman, if the foreman says to you, what are you going to do if a rock slides down your scaling bar? And you can say, I'm going to drop the bar. If they say, well, what are you going to do if I smell stench gas? Well, I'm going to go to a refuge chamber. What are you going to do if your truck starts sliding down the decline? Well, I'm not going to hit the foot brakes because I'm going to put it into the wall and do a lot of damage. I'm going to hit the retarder instead. If you can answer those questions like that, you've got everything that the employer wants, because all they have to do is physically show you how to do the job, which nobody has any problems doing. That's the other thing that people don't realize, is that they get really caught up on learning how to drive the truck. When teaching you how to drive the truck, it only takes a couple of weeks. I talk to people that have got their MC license and they do road train driving and multi-combination. And I often say to them, well, in truck driving, you've got a tertiary degree. When you go into an underground truck role, it's primary school level stuff. Like, if you can drive an automatic car, you can drive an underground truck. They're that simple. And that's not what they struggle with. People don't struggle with learning how to drive the truck. They struggle with being left alone to drive the truck by themselves. That's what they really struggle with.
Yeah, they do. And all of the safety aspects of it, and maybe the isolation or the kind of claustrophobia that some people feel about actually being underground for 12 hours a day. A lot of people, if you're not expecting that, it can be quite confronting. And it seems silly to not think of that when it's an underground role. But I think people just really, if you haven't been in and experienced it, it can be pretty full on. For some people, don't like it, just immediately don't like it. I've had tradesmen that big, burly, bloody footy player, drinking, tough tradesman roll into a job in an underground role and immediately throw up or vomit or cry or have to just, get me out of here. I can't be in here. So it's not for everyone.
As part of the shift boss job, what they normally do, because when I first started, they used to do all the training first. They used to spend 7 days to 10 days training you, and then they'd take you underground, and then the people would freak out. By the time I got to shift bossing, they'd smartened up on that. And so on your first day in the afternoon, you normally get a run underground with the shift boss. And that's just to show you around and be all nice and pleasant. But what it's really there for is to see if you're going to freak the fuck out. And, it happens. And I know I've told this story before, but my worst case scenario was we pulled into the pit to go down to the portal. And as soon as I pulled into the pit, the guy just started saying, no, 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 no. And, it was good. It was a brand new shift boss's ute. So I had central locking and power windows. He tried to open the door and jump out. Then he tried to wind the window down. And so I had to do an emergency turn on the pit ramp and straight past the shift boss's job, straight to the first aider, called the nurse up and said, we got a real big problem. And they juiced him up and flew him out on RFDS that night.
Yeah, I've had a couple like that too, of candidates or clients that have gone into an induction or a come and meet and greet the team on an underground site for a dump truck traineeship. And there was one guy that vomited and just got out immediately. Same thing, just driven in and boom, get me out of here. And another one that was very similar. You hear these stories all the time. And if you haven't done that education and you have no idea what you're walking into, it can be really daunting and confronting for some people. Whereas if you have an idea, you're going to know that you're going to be okay. You're going to have an idea about what to expect and you're going to know what's normal and what's not. And so it's really just you're going to wrap your head around it a lot more easily than if you just fly in there blind.
Yep. And the other thing that we talk about in the training, and I know Jess talks about it when she does the consultation with the resumes and all that sort of stuff, is the pressure involved in the job. You won't, there's not many jobs around that aren't, medical based or that sort of stuff that are life threatening that don't have more pressure involved. They ramp the pressure up like you wouldn't believe. And it's just, the pressure's always on to produce. There's no just an extra day. If you miss whatever you've done for the day, it's all booked as downtime. There's no adding extra days or anything like that. If you lose it, you lose it. That's it. It's done. It's booked as cost. And that ramps the pressure up like you wouldn't believe for a lot of people. And a lot of people just can't handle that pressure. It's just too much for them.
I think so, you either love it and you thrive on working in that type of environment, like I'm sure you did, and I know I did. I loved that aspect of it because it was exciting.
Yep.
If you've come from a bit of a mundane job and you're used to just doing your 9 to 5 and you're not looking for that added pressure mentally and physically a lot of the time, that can be another thing that people don't understand. I've had a lot of people go up, especially into off-sider roles, and quit after 2 days. Oh, my boots are so sore. I've got blisters here. I've got blisters on my hands. I'm so tired. I'm so sore. I'm dirty. I didn't think it was going to be like this. And that's, you need to really do that underground training to have an idea about what you're walking into. And then I don't want it to sound all doom and gloom. We have the other aspect of people that go and do it and are like, oh, I love this. Like, I want to do this forever. I want to be a driller. Like, I love it. Love being underground.
Yeah, and those people, they accelerate through the ranks really quickly. And because you've got a good base knowledge, it gives you a great launching pad just to make it up the ranks as quickly as possible.
Definitely, definitely.
Yep. So to sum it all up, getting a job is all about solving the problem for the employer, whether that be knowing how the mine works for the employer or going to where the jobs are. Either or, it's all about solving a problem. So if you can do everything you can so you've helped solve a problem for them, then that's how you're going to get the job.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks for that, Jess. And so if you've got any more questions that you'd like to ask, please send them through. And if you could share this video around and like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
Thank you.